So you want to know what it's really like living here in Fort Lauderdale? Well, I've lived in the Fort Lauderdale area for almost 30 years. So in this video, we're going to talk about the reality of what it's like to live here. There are some advantages, there are some disadvantages, but the three things we're going to cover in this video are things you need to know before deciding whether or not to move to South Florida. So stay tuned. What's up everyone, it's Tanner and I'm so happy to be back with another video. If you want to know everything about eating, working, sleeping, playing, and living in Fort Lauderdale, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tap the little bell so you get notified every time I do a new video. So far, I've had 5 people reach out to me this week alone from all over the country. I even got an email from someone in Europe who's planning their move here, and I thought it was so cool that someone in the UK found these videos helpful, and I'd love to know where everyone is watching from. So do me a favor and drop a comment below and tell me where you're currently living. I absolutely love talking to you guys and having the opportunity to help so many people with their moves here to sunny South Florida. So if you're even thinking about moving or relocating in the Fort Lauderdale area, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, message me on Facebook, however you want to get a hold of me, because I got your back when moving. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for this video, and you may have seen another one of my videos talking about the pros and cons of living in Florida, where I went over some general things that could pretty much apply anywhere you live in the entire state. But based on a lot of questions that I've been getting, I know a lot of you are moving to the Fort Lauderdale area and you want to know specifics on what it's like to live right here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what is the weather really like? Is it always unbearably hot here in Fort Lauderdale? Well, let's put this into perspective, because even in January, which is our coldest month down here, the average low is 57 degrees, which means the average during the day is going to be in the mid 70s to low 80s. And in the summertime, the heat and humidity can be absolutely brutal. So if you want to be comfortable, air conditioning is essential both in your car and in your home. And a little bonus tip, you know you're a true Floridian when you have these 4 items in your car at all times. A beach towel, because you never know when you're going to make that unexpected trip. You should also have a sunshade for your windshield, and a rag. Yeah, a rag, so you can grab the steering wheel without getting second-degree burns on your hands. Have you ever tried to grab a steering wheel after your car has been sitting outside for hours in what feels like 100-degree weather? It literally feels like you just sat down in an oven. And hopefully you remember this tip and never have to experience that, because it hurts so bad. And the last thing every true Floridian should have in their car is an umbrella. So being that we can go to the beach on Christmas, it's safe to say that pretty much every day is a good beach day in Fort Lauderdale, and we do get about 325 days of sunshine every year, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't rain. The weather is pretty unpredictable, especially in the summer. It can go from beautiful sunshine with not a cloud in the sky to a complete downpour in just a couple of minutes. But there's no reason to worry, because just as quickly as the rain comes in, it leaves. These showers typically happen in the afternoon, they last about 10 minutes, and then the sun comes right back out. So when this happens when you're at the beach, and I say when because if you plan on visiting the beach, it will happen sooner or later, but don't be like all the tourists who are scrambling around to pick up their stuff and run to their car as soon as they feel the first drop of rain. They don't know that it's most likely going to pass, and the chances are by the time they get all the way to their car with their towels, their coolers, and their chairs, the rain will probably have stopped already. So wait it out like the locals, because it'll probably blow right over, and if it doesn't, a little cool off from the rain on a 90+ degree beach day, it feels pretty good. So since we're talking about weather, I'm sure you want to know about hurricanes. So hurricane season starts June 1st, with the peak of the season being around September. And are they dangerous? Sure, they absolutely have the potential to cause a lot of damage, but it's also important to understand that just because it's hurricane season doesn't mean we're going to get them on a regular basis. There's not even a guarantee that we'll get one of these storms the whole year. But if we do end up in the path of one, that also doesn't mean it's automatically going to cause a ton of destruction. Honestly, most of the time, they really aren't all that bad. We do get a lot of wind and a lot of rain, but personally, over my 30 years of living here in Fort Lauderdale, I can only recall a handful of hurricanes that have even caused the electricity to go out. And if you've seen the video up here about moving to Fort Lauderdale, I've said it before, we know these storms are coming. So we have plenty of time to prepare and decide if we're going to stay or if we're going to leave town. For those of us who stay, we typically have a hurricane party. Since we know at least 5 days in advance that there's a hurricane coming, it's just a way for us Floridians to get together with friends and family to ease the stress and anxiety of the approaching storm. So I think now is as good a time as any to move on to number 2, and that's the lifestyle here in Fort Lauderdale. We get 23 million visitors here from all over the world every single year. So I think it's safe to say there's no shortage of things to do. In Fort Lauderdale alone, we have over 4,100 restaurants and 120 nightclubs. That means you could eat at a new place every day for over 11 years. And if you go out once a week, you wouldn't have to go to the same club twice for over 2 years. But it's not all partying. Fort Lauderdale is great for families too. We have plenty of parks and things to do for all ages. One of my favorite things as a kid, and even now, is the Fort Lauderdale Air Show. Thousands of people come to the beaches or out on their boats to watch this amazing aerial show of planes, helicopters, and all different kinds of aircrafts, both military and civilian. They even have a portion of the show dedicated to parachute teams who land right on the beach. Now, it's pretty warm all year round, so when you live in Fort Lauderdale, water sports and outdoor activities are a way of life. Scuba diving, snorkeling, and fishing are some of the most popular things to do in the ocean, and in Broward County there are over 42,000 registered boats. But don't worry, you don't need your own to enjoy the water. Chances are you'll know someone with a boat, or there are all kinds of affordable charters that you can still enjoy these activities. If the water isn't your thing, there's no shortage of world-class golf courses, and there's also a ton of state parks and trails to explore where you can go on walks, ride your bike, and get some exercise. And if you're into art and shopping, you're gonna be in heaven. Fort Lauderdale offers a lot of art galleries, fashion boutiques, and museums. Okay, I know what you're thinking, this all sounds great, but can I even afford it? And are there even any reasonably priced places to live? The answer is absolutely yes. But it also depends on what your version of reasonably priced is. Overall, the cost of living in Fort Lauderdale isn't all that high. Things like gas, groceries, healthcare, and utilities are all pretty much even with the national average, but there is one thing that's slightly more expensive, and that's the cost of housing. The median home cost in Fort Lauderdale is about $315,000, but you can find condos for as low as $100,000. Now, if you're considering renting for a while when you first make your move to Fort Lauderdale, you have tons of options from places like this to places like this. The first one is $9,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, but look at that view. The second is a $750 a month studio apartment, and obviously these are on two opposite sides of the spectrum, but Fort Lauderdale really does have something for everyone. On average, for a place like this, that's nothing super luxurious but in a great location and close to the beach, you can expect to pay around $1,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And if you're even thinking about moving or relocating to Fort Lauderdale or anywhere in South Florida, make sure you reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you and help you any way that I can. Check out some of these other videos, and remember, I've got your back when moving to Fort Lauderdale.